Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to another edition of Healthy, Wholesome You with Carol. And today I have with me a special guest, a friend of mine, Sheron Clarke. But first, welcome to you and thank you for joining us today. Today, we're talking about mental health. May is Mental Health Month, and we are doing our part to address this issue, right? To talk about it, to help reduce the stigma and the taboo around the topic so that we can openly not only speak about mental health and mental health challenges, but also seek support, resources, and solutions so that we can live healthier lives. I'm excited that my friend Sheron has joined me today for this discussion. And that's what it's going to be, a discussion, a conversation between two women on addressing this issue of mental health and ensuring that we maintain positive mental health throughout our lives. Now, mental health is quite an issue. And for that reason, many people often feel overwhelmed by the issue. But there is hope. There is hope to overcome. There is hope to find solutions and to manage any mental health challenge that you may face. But many people may not know just how common mental health illness or challenges actually are. So I'm going to share with you before we jump into our discussion just a few statistics. The first of them is that 1 in 5 US adults experience mental illness each year. That's 1 in 5. So that makes it quite common. 20% of US adults are actually experiencing mental illness. 1 in 20 US adults also experience serious mental illness each year. So there are mental illnesses, and then there are some more serious mental illness that is on quite another level. 1 in 6 US youth aged 6 to 17 also experience a mental health disorder each year. 50% of all lifetime mental illness begins by the age of 14. So it's really important that we address this issue even among youth. And 75% of all lifetime mental illness is set in motion by age 24. Suicide also is the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 14. So this, as we can see based on these statistics, is a major issue among youth. So not only are we to really try to solve our own mental health issues, but we also have to be considering our youth and how they're dealing with the mental health challenges that they face. So Sheron, welcome to this platform. Welcome and
Oh,
so
wow,
great
man.
to
Thank
have
you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel like I'm home. I thank you so much. I am home. Praise God. It's good to be here. Good to be here. Thank you.
Yes, and Sheron is a certified mental health coach, particularly focusing on suicide awareness and intervention. So she's had quite some experience in mental health, and I'm excited to be having this conversation with her today. So Sheron, maybe I'll have you talk a little bit about, since you've worked in this area of mental health, what are some of the mental health issues that you're seeing as being most prevalent especially as we come out of the WHO, World Health Organization, has just announced the end of the emergency aspect of COVID. So we're kind of coming out of the pandemic, although we're not all clear just yet. What are some mental health issues that you're seeing as being most common as we make that transition out of this COVID emergency period?
Thank you so much for, first of all, sharing the statistics. And it's just amazing because, to be honest with you, what I've observed, just to go back a little, is that younger and younger children are actually suiciding. I think the youngest age is 5. We have children as young as 5 and 6 that have suicided. So, and even during COVID, we saw an increase in the amount of children who have suicided. So it's so much that has happened since COVID. You don't even have to be in this field to see that there has been a drastic increase in the whole mental health issue. As a matter of fact, the mental health issue, mental health is good. There's nothing, we all have mental health. Let me just clarify this for those of us who are watching this. Mental illness is what we are talking about. The fact is when you have unbalance, when you know that something is off, you're always depressed, you're moody, something has shifted. That's when you know that that is when you need to really take a look at what is going on in his or her life that is causing this unbalance, because then you are going into the mental health issue. And it could be as simple as depression, because a lot of people I mean, just talking about the COVID, a lot of people have gotten so depressed. There are people who are isolated. People are at home most of the time. You're no longer at work with your co-workers. And so a lot of people had to learn how to be with themselves. That's a whole different discussion, because the reality is that we're in a culture that is so busy that a lot of people do not really spend time with themselves. They are not comfortable spending time with themselves. Mm-hmm. So to be isolated for so long, that was creating a whole different dynamics. People were jumping out of their skin. And so we don't want to beat the horse, because we know we've been there, we've gone through that. But it's obvious that there's an aftermath. Okay, there's an effect that is still going on, even though we are no longer actively in the COVID era, the COVID season, so to speak. But the effects are still there. It's devastating. And now we're seeing more than ever the effects, really, because then you think that because the pandemic was over, then people will just go back normally. But that is not how the mind works. Mm-hmm. When the mind has been traumatized for a long time, you have to be intentional now in reprogramming your mind and saying, okay, I am no longer sick. I'll give you an example. I was about to go into Staples the other day, but I wanted to download something off my USB drive. And so I was searching in my pocketbook for it. And I was like, where is it? I might have left it in my vehicle. But an older woman was coming towards the store, and she stopped and she said to me, oh, I know. I'm thinking about it too. Are you looking for something? You're looking for your mask? I'm like, no, I was not looking for my mask. I was actually looking for my USB drive. But now that you think about it, I usually wear it in here. But she stood outside and she was hesitant to go in. Her husband was in, but she was hesitant to go in because she said, you know what? I don't have my mask, and I've worn my mask for 3 years. She said, I don't know how to go in. She said, it's okay. I said to her, it's okay. I've gone in and I'm still alive. I said, I think you'll be fine. And she laughed and she said, you know, you're right, because my daughter is saying that my husband goes everywhere without a mask. So really and truly, he comes and we're together. So it really doesn't make a difference because he's not wearing it and I'm, you know. And I said, yes, it is just, but what that says is just the mindset. We have been programmed, we have been conditioned And so if the physical mass is just an indication of what is going on mentally, because let's look at the reality. It was traumatizing because many people have lost loved one. Many people, you saw your loved one today, and then by next week they're no longer there. And we're talking about multiple. I mean, I had a teacher, and she was saying that 12 of our family members died from COVID. So you're talking about a lot of trauma that one family, had to go through just to even come to terms with losing so many people at one time. So we do see an uptick, and of course, schools. We can go into schools, and I'm not going to be too long with this, but there's so many different areas of our lives and demographics that, of course, every demographic was affected. No ethnic group escape this. No country, every country experienced it on the globe. So we know that it's a part of our reality. But no, as I said, but as we're dealing with the whole mental aspect of it, and we want to figure out now how do we cope? How do we continue to cope with this? Because the reality is that suicide is increasing. Before COVID, 22 to 23 veteran suicide every day. That was before COVID. So you know that everything else has just been, it has just increased, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Oh, wow, you've covered so much already, Sheron. But, I just kind of wanted to touch on this issue of trauma, right? Trauma, which leads to various stressors. And a stressor is just some sort of pressure or challenge that comes to you that you have to react to or respond to in some way. And what we find is that people don't necessarily have the skills, the coping skills they need to deal with some of the trauma, to deal with some of the stress, the stressors. So this increased level of stress also is leading to some of these mental health issues. So Sheron, maybe let's talk a little bit about coping mechanisms. So people talk about self-care, but beyond the usual self-care of going to the spa or going for a walk or all of these other things that we may think of for self-care, there's also this part of our mental health. And how can we better care for our mental health, even when we're dealing with the daily stresses of life? For you, Sheron, for instance, you're single, no kids. I, on the other hand, am a mom with some younger kids in the house. And then out there, someone may be listening who may be an empty nester. They've had kids. The kids have now left and gone on to start building their own lives or go to college and so forth. And then there are others who are dealing with grief, the loss of a loved one or the loss of some significant part of their lives. And even for the empty nester, there's a sense of loss, right? So we all have different life situations that we're dealing with. So Sheron, how can we cope? How can we cope when stressors come, regardless of the, stage of life in which we find ourselves? Don't forget the single mom. I can't forget the single mom as well, who just in general, day to day is dealing with so much. What are your thoughts around that?
Everyone is dealing. I think everybody's dealing with something. We're living in the time that we're living in now. Everybody has something to deal with. But I want to just say this briefly about trauma, because trauma, it can be different things trigger different people differently, and trauma, that's a whole different, oh my God, topic in itself, because people can be traumatized because of abuse, sexual abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, psychological abuse. It can be an accident. You had a really major accident on the highway, and you're so traumatized that you never get into a vehicle again. It can be trauma. You can be traumatized based on war. So many things can trigger that, and that's stress. When it's that deep, it's good to know what has triggered it, what has caused that type of trauma. Why is it that you're fearful to even go into a vehicle? What caused it? You can't put your finger on it, but something must have happened in your past, or there's something that triggered it. So when folks are going through trauma, if they can just stop and think, what is it that caused this? Why am I like this? And there are different levels of trauma. And I just say this briefly before I go into the self-care, because self-care is good. But then when it's a deep level of trauma, it's going to take more than just getting a manicure, pedicure, and all of that. Because I remember briefly, I'll just say this. I remember when I just didn't like to go on the highway. I just did not like to go on the highway. And I wasn't always like that, but I found that over the years, it kept getting worse. I had to stop and ask myself, why is it that I'm so afraid to go on the highway? It's like I felt that I was going to get lost and nobody would be able to find me. Nobody would be able to find me. I'll be, so I would take the side road, the back road, any road, the long road, just so that I would not go on the highway. But then there came a time in my life, based on the job that I was doing, that I knew I couldn't get around it this time. There's no shortcut. There's no going around. So I had to stop one night and I stood in my kitchen and I said, God, what is it? What is it that is causing this trauma? And then, and for those who might not be Christian, I am talking about God. I talk to God because he's the one who has brought me here. And this is why I'm here. So he's the only one I can talk about. So when I asked him what happened, he reminded me of the night when I was stranded on the New Jersey Turnpike in the middle of the night, and I was traumatized. I was exhausted. I was following a family member. When we got to the toll booth, he didn't remember that I was behind him, I guess. I don't know. But when I looked up after I paid my toll, back in the day, you pay a toll, you unbuckle and you pay a toll. Just know how long ago it was, right? So by the time I unbuckled and greeted the toll booth attendant and paid my toll and looked up, I did not even see the brake light. And being a person who was not really on the highway a lot, I was traumatized. And so that night when I was asking the Lord, what is it that caused me to be so fearful of the highway? Because it was getting worse. I mean, I just didn't want to see the green sign. When I see it, I was like running backwards. I said, no. That was what came to my mind. And so I had to pray against that spirit of fear that traumatized me that night. Mm-hmm. And immediately, and I'm not saying it's going to be the same way for everybody, but I'm just telling you my story. Immediately, I literally felt the spirit of fear. I literally saw it leaving me. Mm-hmm. And from that day, I was able to drive anywhere I want to go anywhere I want to go, because I knew that was in me. I just couldn't get that part of me out because the fear was the trauma was just so strong and so heavy. And so we have to go to the root to find out what is it that has me in this, or you in this bondage. And sometimes it takes having a licensed professional to really get to that point. And so we're telling you, if that is what you need, it's okay. It's okay to get help. It's okay not to be okay. That's the new saying that they're saying. It's okay not to be okay, because the reality is that everybody's dealing with something. But we think you're the only one. You think you're the only one dealing with something, and nobody else can understand. No, everybody is dealing with something. And so if you are going through a traumatic experience or have gone through it and you can't handle it, it means that you need help. So go and get the help. So that's what I'm saying. However, if it's not a deep trauma, but you're overwhelmed and you're depressed and you're feeling like you're just a hamster on the wheel, just going, and you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, then some of the things that we can suggest, and I would suggest to try and regain your balance, is, just to encourage yourself, speak life into your situation and your circumstances. I know that, and Carl, we're doing this together. We're here together. And you know me, I can't leave God out of this, because I know that it doesn't matter who we are. David was a king, King David, and he was speaking to the Lord. He was speaking to his own soul because he was depressed. So it doesn't matter if you're in the palace or you're in the pit, you can be depressed. And so he was saying, you know, my soul, why art thou disquieted? Why are you depressed? Why are you distressed? Hope in God. And so we have to speak to our soul sometimes. I have to do that. Sometimes I can feel the spirit of heaviness coming down on me. What I do, I go into the 27th Psalm and say, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? And so that's what works for me. And I know the word works. So it works for me. So I speak that over me until I can feel it sometimes just break and go. So you encourage yourself. You can also read a book. Sometimes reading, some people, is therapeutic. For me, I love to sit with a book and not have anything else on the plate and say, oh, I'm just going to get into this book. I love it. For me, it's therapy. And for many people, it is as well. But hopefully, as I go through these lists, there's something here that can resonate with you. You can journal, write. It's good to write your thoughts. Why is it you're so distressed? Why is it what is causing this unstable emotion, instability in your emotion? What is causing this alignment? Something is off. Write it down, because sometimes when we write, that is when our thoughts come to our fingertips and you can see it plainly on a paper, and then you can make sense of it. But if it's in your brain, it's in your mind, and it's going over, around and around, it's like a merry-go-round, not going anywhere, but it's just going around in circles, eventually you're going to get overwhelmed, and you're not going to achieve anything out of that. Also,
and if I may interject here,
sure,
Sheron,
sure.
Just one quick point, because you mentioned the new saying that it's okay to not be okay, right? People say that, and it is okay to recognize that, yes, you may be going through something, but I think the important point is not to stay there. Exactly. And I just want to really highlight that it's okay to recognize that I do have a challenge, that I am going through something, but it's not okay to stay there, right? And you have mentioned certain things that help you cope, right? Prayer, for instance, reading the Bible, for instance, it's helpful to help you cope. And I think it's important that people find the thing that helps them to cope in difficult times, in trying times, right? I know you have quite a list that you're going to go to. You mentioned journaling.
I have some more I'm going to share, because it might not, but I am, exactly.
So I just wanted to highlight so people follow with you that these are awesome, different little things that we can do to help ourselves to cope. You may not be a religious person. Maybe it's meditation. For some, for others, it may be a walk in the park, right? But you have to find that thing that works for you, that helps you cope. It's okay to not be okay, but don't stay there. So please go ahead, Sheron.
But let me say this. I am not religious. I'm relation. Because when you mention Bible, whenever we mention Bible, folks always, oh, I'm not religious. But what I have and what I know that the God that I serve wants is relationship. And so that is why, we talk to him, because it's a relationship. So I just want to make that quite clear. It's relationship. And so thank you so much, Carol, because it's so important that you mentioned that, because we're not an advocate for folks to stay where they are. And that is why we're here today to really help as many people as possible see that there is a way out. You don't have to stay where you are. There are little things that you can do. And if it's overwhelming, as we say, there's help out there. There are tools, there are resources out there. But this self-care that we have, this list that we have here that we can discuss, we're going to discuss it, but I'm going to go through it and we can discuss it even more, is it's just things that we can do. Everybody can do it. We have to do something to help ourselves. Nobody's going to come in and just rescue you without you just doing anything. If you want to go to the gym, you have to get up and put your clothes on, put your shoes on, and you have to go to the gym. Okay, it's something that we have to do, or to walk. Maybe you don't want to go to the gym, but you can walk around your block, walk around several times. That works as well, as long as you are moving and the blood is flowing, and we can think straight and feel better about yourself, that, you know what, I'm doing something to take care of me. There's something about that makes you feel more confident in who you are. You feel better, you look better, you smile more, because smile is also a self-care. You know, you're giving it away, but you're also, your soul is smiling back. It is so important that we laugh and smile. We need to laugh. Self-care also is laughter. The Bible says laughter is medicine to the bones. And so when we laugh, you're actually releasing, okay, all that good hormones that the body need, endorphins that goes into your cells and your nerves, and the body needs it. Socializing, no man is an island. So right, right, we're here, we're collaborating, we're socializing. We might not see you because you're watching this after the fact, but socializing is so important, touching somebody else's lives. And that is what we're doing today. We're reaching out to you, to impact you in some way, or to help your life in some way. And because of that, we are blessed by just being here, sharing with you, getting rid of negativity and negative surroundings and friendship, and the things that are that just do not serve you. Negative books, negative movies, things that are just not edifying, or is not serving you in terms of your mental health. You want to be mentally healthy and not mentally off balance, or ill in any way, shape, or form. Do you have any questions, or you want to say anything, Carol, at this time? I have
No,
more,
but
I have
you're
more.
touching on some really, really
I have more, because
good points.
but you know what? A lot of times, well, Carol, this is what this is, because we're having a discussion. Another thing is, a lot of times people talk about self-care, and they also, and I want to say again, and you said it and I said it, that it's more than just manicure and pedicure, as lovely as those are. But we want to go into the soulish realm. We want to go into the soulish realm and do self-care of your soul. It means that you have to get rid of the negative self-talk, the things that you're saying to yourself. You might put a smile and act as if, oh, everything is okay when you're with friends, but then when you're by yourself, you're thinking you're stupid, and what's wrong with you, and why can't I get this, and you're beating yourself up. That is negative. That will not help you in any way, shape, or form. That you're hurting yourself more than anything else. So watch your negative self-talk. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Okay, that's what the good book says. That's what the Bible says. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Get rid of the gossiping, the total gossip. If all your friends are just into gossip, nobody has anything productive to do or say, and you're in the same story from 1970 over and over and over again, that is not helping your mental health. It's not helping. You're not going to be mentally healthy when there's the same things over and over that you keep free running over and over. And the brain needs new thoughts. You need to have new tracks in your brain. Stretch your brain, read something that is positive, be around different people, be in different settings, and expand your horizon. And this will make you feel like you're alive. You'll be so much more alive, because you're experiencing new things, you're doing new things, you're meeting new people, but you're in the same grind every day, the same thing, the same routine every day, in and out, and not really socializing with anyone. That can be a negative thing. Okay, shame, anything that is bearing down on your soul, shame and guilt and unforgiveness, there's someone that you need to forgive. The best thing you can do, the best self-care you can do, is to forgive someone else, because when you release them, you're taking back your power from them. Okay, because the moment you keep going over the same thing and you have unforgiveness in your heart against them, you've given them your power. So you've given away your power. So you need to take it back by saying, you know what, I forgive. Yes, they might have done me wrong, but you know what, it's not about that. Yes, you're hurt, but at the same time, it's between them and their maker. You need to forgive them. It's on you, because if you do not forgive, then your father will not forgive you. So you need to be forgiven. You need to be released. No attachment. Cut that cord of toxicity and release yourself so you can flourish. When you forgive, then you're able to flourish. The blessings come in your life. You look different. You're not carrying that weight and that burden and all of that. You need to release that so you can grow, you can prosper in every area of your life. That's one of the best self-care I can share with you today. Any question, Carol?
Well, I think a lot of what you're sharing, Sheron, is around this idea of regaining your balance, right?
Awesome.
Regaining your balance.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
when we have stressors come to us, sometimes they take us off course.
Yes.
Sometimes they have us out of kilter. We're just not balanced in our minds and our way of thinking about ourselves and our circumstances. So a lot of these coping mechanisms really is to help you to regain your balance, to get back to centering yourself to where you should be. And I think a lot of what Sheron is talking about as far as maintaining or regaining your balanced mental health, it's about taking the time to really examine those thoughts that you're thinking about yourself, about your circumstance, about other people, and really considering what is helpful and beneficial and what is not. And sometimes it's the negativity of others, right? That's in your life, and being able to distance yourself from it. So I love what Sheron has shared so far. She shared about journaling and really thinking about your thoughts, because sometimes you do need to process the emotions you're having around some of these issues. One I didn't hear her share is around nutrition, right? Eating well. As many of you know, I am a nutrition coach. So I'm very big on proper nutrition. What you put in is what you get back out in terms of your body's performance, your mental acuteness, right? The sharpness of your mind, the sharpness of your ability to make better decisions.
Yes,
so
definitely.
Nutrition is so very important to overall mental health. But there is just one fact that we must come to terms with, is that we will face difficult times. And so the ability to cope when things get difficult, whether it's the loss of a loved one, whether it's some other difficult situation or difficult relationships, family relationships can also be challenging. What do you do in those circumstances? What do you do in those situations? And self-care is building into your life those things that help you cope. Your mental health will always be one of the most important aspects of your life, because how you think is what you would express in your behavior and your actions. So it's important that we think about what we're thinking about, right? Think about what you're thinking about so that you can get some of the results that you would like to have. So whether it's journaling, going for a walk, getting that manicure, getting that pedicure, or reading and praying, reading, the word and praying, whatever it is that you choose as your coping mechanism, practice it regularly so that you stay in a state of balance. So go ahead,
Thank
Sheron.
you. Oh, that is so true. And you know what I want to say? You might not be able to do everything. We're not saying that you're going to do all of these all at once, but choose what you can do. And we know that for it to become a part of your lifestyle, you have to start somewhere and then make it a habit. As you continue to do it more and more, you're going to find that, I like this. I need to stick with this. And then you go to something else. And you'll find that because you're making progress, you feel better about yourself. You feel better about life. You feel you have a different outlook. And because progress builds your confidence in whatever area, whether it's in business, in your spiritual walk, in your family, whatever it is, it does affect you in a positive way when you can say, you know what, I'm making progress in this. I like the way I am with my family. And you mentioned family earlier. Yes, I'm saying whether you're single or not, everybody seems to be busy these days. So I know for you, it comes back to time management. You did mention that, yes, I'm single, but I'm busy. I have a full ministry without walls. Oh my gosh, that's a prayer ministry that I've been leading now for 15 years. And it's not just it's a prayer ministry, but we do outreach. We believe in really impacting lives internationally by partnering with different ministries all over the world, Food for the Poor and Gospel for Asia, and these ministries that are risking life and limb. The least we can do is be a blessing to them, as best as we could. So we do that somewhat. And so it's just fascinating, this whole discussion. And so business comes in, and I know for you, you have you're homeschooling your children. That, to me, I take my hat off to you. That takes discipline, and so it is a blessing. But we find time to do, you see, we do the things that are important. We find time to do the things that are important, and we can't do everything every day all the time. So we have to choose what is important for us to do. What goals are you working on? Where are you going with this? Because overwhelm is one of the things that burn people out, and they get in that state of stress. So we have to watch that as well. Where am I just putting too much when it's not necessary, or putting too little when I need more? So we need to know how to balance it so that we can, yes.
And you also mentioned connectiveness, right, with others. Community, right? You didn't mention, like, for instance, a church or other community groups, or social groups that you're a part of. It's so important for us to stay connected to others, and that's another way to
socialize. Yes,
because
definitely.
Within our communities, we find people we can talk to, that we can trust, that we can express whatever it is we're going through. We can talk about possible, just kind of bouncing ideas off of them about how to deal with certain situations, how to cope. And when you're around community, you also grow as a person. So it's really, really important that we stay connected to others. That helps tremendously with our mental health. And because we've been quarantined for so long, right, or in some sort of isolation stage as we make our way back out, and having to deal with this new normal of interacting with others, dealing with others, and having some sense of self even within communities. It's really, really important that we identify who are those few that we can trust, that we can talk to, and that can help us on our life's journey.
Yes, that is a key. That a key component you mentioned is trust. Because if folks feel like they can trust someone, they'll be more likely to open up. That's with anything. You want to know that whatever you're saying, it's in confidence, and that the person can help you, and if not, they have a referral. So it is important that definitely you be in a community that is so crucial. Yes.
Yeah. And I must touch on that referral piece, because sometimes within our community, the people we know, our families, we're not able to get the help that we need. And at that point, we should definitely seek professional help. There should be no shame in dealing with your mental health issue. If you have a broken arm, you go to the doctor. If something hurts in your body, you go to a doctor. And mental health should be considered another component of your overall health. When you're not well mentally, go get a doctor, go get help, right?
Yes.
Whether it's therapy, whether it's actually seeing your own, general doctor that can then give you some referrals to more specialized care. It's important that we treat our mental health as an important component of our health. Don't neglect it.
And I will say that number one, I know from my church, there's a group that is called Celebrate Recovery. And it's a group that deals with folks who have been addicts or alcohol, deal with alcohol and habits and things that they want to get free from. So you can always find out if the church has it. I know my church, Living Word International Christian Church, we meet on Thursday nights. That group meets on Thursday nights. So that's a place where you can go and sit for an hour or two and connect with other folks who are having similar struggles. Okay. And sometimes if it's just something that you're going through a situation where you want to talk to someone, you might just need a coach. You can reach out to me and I could either refer you. And my description will be in the link below. I'm sure, Carol will put it down where you can get a calendar and we can talk, because sometimes it's just talking. I heard Dr. Caroline Leaf. I just love her. I love her work, and I used to watch her all the time, and I do watch her. I need to, watch her again and again and again and again. I always do it. But she mentioned a story years ago. Because she's from South Africa, and she said that there is a place in I think it's South Africa, a place in Africa or South Africa where they have a bench, a seat. It's in the town. The seat is in the town, and someone who wants to talk can just go and sit on that seat and just talk to a total stranger that might be sitting there. And they just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, and then they get up and they leave. But that was their way of getting therapy because they come and they release. You might not know the person, you'll never see the person again, but they come and they're able to talk. People just need to be able to feel free to talk about what is bothering them. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that is all they need. And so it's good to reach out to a coach like myself, or you can get referral and you can speak to a pastor or speak to a licensed, psychiatrist or counselor. You'll get the necessary referral. So that is something that is very important, that you have tools. You're not alone. You're not alone. When you're going through darkness and you're feeling in this this mental state of darkness, the mind tend to think that I am alone. Nobody understands me and I'm in this dark place. But we're here to tell you today that you're not alone. There's help out there. And that is why we're here, to let you know that it's okay to talk. The stigma that is attached to the whole mental illness rather, needs to be dispelled. And that is my passion, to dispel it, to talk about it as much as possible, so that people know it's okay. If I'm going through this, I can talk to somebody over there and get the help that I need, instead of suffering in silence. It doesn't serve you and it doesn't serve the world. You have too much in you to offer the world, to sit down and let yourself be so miserable and be in this dark place, when the world is waiting on your potential, all the potential that they have in you need to be released.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I would say, as a mom as well, I think it's important to speak on behalf of moms, because I think, especially when you have young children, it's a very stressful time of life. Right. And I think it's important for moms to recognize that they need time away from their kids and their families to rejuvenate and replenish themselves. And I think often we feel guilty doing that. We feel guilty taking time for ourselves. And Sheron mentioned earlier that we need to do the important things. And I think taking care of your mental health is an important thing. And you should embrace that it is just as important as every other task, every other responsibility that you have, taking care of your mental health. Your thinking. How is your thinking? How is your thinking about yourself, about your life? And are those thoughts serving you? Do you need to get the help? Do you need to have someone sit with you and talk with you and help you through some situations? And often we're either afraid to do that because we don't know who we can trust, or we feel like we could just cope on our own. And often we start layering issues. And before we know it, we have a major issue to deal with. So it's important that moms take the time to really do the mental health self-care that is necessary, not just to cope with difficult situations, but to maintain an overall positive mental health. So that's my message to the moms out there and to any woman, because as a woman, we wear so many hats, whether we're single moms, married, divorced, and empty nesters. We wear many hats because we're aunties, we're cousins, we're taking care of elderly parents. You know, there are so many roles that we take on as women. And sometimes we need to take a step back and take care of ourselves so that we don't deteriorate as we care for others, as we refresh others. We also need to be refreshing ourselves. This is really, really, really important. And I'm almost on a mission to see women also prioritize themselves, because the years go by, the children grow up, you know, all kinds of life situations happen, and we may find ourselves in poor health if we don't take care of ourselves along the way. So that's my message that I want all women to hear, that you too are important and you should prioritize yourself as well. So any final words from you, Sheron,
you know what,
to wrap this conversation?
Yes, I know we could go on and on, but you mentioned prioritizing yourself by you know, self-care and doing self-care as a mother. And one of the things, one of the tools, one of the suggestions I would make for every woman, single or with children, always have a good hobby. Find a hobby. Find something that you love to do. Because even when you have the children and they're there and you're focusing so much on the children, they grow up and they leave the home, and then you're there, you're like, who am I? You don't even know what you're like. You don't remember what you're like. You don't know who you are, because your life has been so wrapped up in the children and school and high school and college and the husband and all of that. So who am I really? So a lot of folks, a lot of times when they're empty nesters, they don't know what to do with themselves. They get depressed. That you know, retirement, that's a whole different thing. They get to that place where like they feel lost. And so it is important to, while the children are in the home, to have some sense of who you are. Don't lose yourself in that, because when they're gone, you're looking at the walls and you're like, wow, my entire life was all about the children. And that is important, but entire life was all about the children. So we don't want to get to that place, because the mind now is like, what do I do? I don't know what to do, because I've always been thinking about the children, my husband, the children, my husband, the children. So now I don't know what to do. And you don't want to leave that space, that vacuum. So I just encourage those who are going through that stage of their life to remember, always find something that you love to do, that you really enjoy, that makes you feel good, feel alive, so that you have other things to do afterwards. This has been wonderful. I trust that whoever has a chance to see this will gain insight and gain, or some aha moments, or something will impact their lives in such a way, because that is our goal, that something was said to encourage you. And we want you to talk more about what's going on in your mind. We want this to be a dialogue that you can have in your family, with your children. Talk to your children, talk to your spouse, talk to your cousins, because sometimes cousin, they're going through stuff. Talk to people. Don't be afraid to ask, you know, what is going on in their lives, and be interested. Don't be asking and running, because then nobody's going to tell you. They're going to be like, oh, I'm okay. But because they know that you do not have the time to even sit and hear the answer. You're just asking out of just mere courtesy, but your intention genuinely was not care. So we need to, So I am just encouraging us to be more intentional and paying attention to the people who are around you and what they're going through. Because one of the things that, and I'm not going to go there, I'm just trying to stop here. One of the things that we do know is that people don't take the time to really ask the question that they know they need to ask. They see the signs, and they don't ask, they don't say anything, they just ignore it. And then sometimes, unfortunately, when there's a suicide, then they say, oh, I did see so, but they're not putting the two together and thinking this could be a more serious issue. So I'm just encouraging all of this mental health, mental health awareness month, May, all of May. And we just want to encourage you all to just know that we're dispelling the stigma, but we want you to know that it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to ask questions, but it's the way you ask. And that's one of the things that I train, how to ask the questions, how to do it in such a way that the person does not feel like they need to shut down as opposed to open up to you. Because depending on how you ask the question, they might just shut down. So that's one of the things that and I'm going to put it in the link. Carol put it in the link that I do safe talk and assist training, and I do speak on suicide and mental health. I am a speaker as well, so we can put it in there so we can have that dialogue, so people know that it's okay to talk about it. I want it to be a conversation that you have even at your dinner table.
Mm-hmm.
Check
Absolutely.
on the children.
The more
Check
we talk about it, the more we dispel the stigma.
Exactly.
The more we talk about it, the more we are able to get the help we need. The more we talk about it, the more we care for our mental health. So with that, I am going to wrap this conversation. Thank you for joining us. And we hope that something was said here today that will increase your life, that will take you from one position in your mental health to another. Maybe a tip that you could incorporate into your life. Don't just hear the information, but take it and apply it and make that positive difference in your mental health. So thanks again for joining us. Until the next conversation.
Thank you.
See you then. Bye.
See you then. Bye.